all of a sudden, Sean, I was in a cave and there was a fire burning in the cave. And I looked up and I saw a man sitting, staring into the fire. And I thought, I wonder who that is. And then I looked around the cave, and even though the cave was a cave, paradoxically, the walls of the cave were translucent. And it was like I was in the middle of a galaxy, and all around the cave in a galactic formation were these little stars. And when I looked into the stars, there was a person in the star, a personhood. And I said to my soul, like, what am I seeing? My soul said, the man watching the fire is you. That's who you were in your past life. And each time you die, you commit yourself to being the fire tender. And your job is to watch over yourself in your next incarnation and to speak inspiration, guidance, and support. And I said, well, who are all these other beings? My soul said, that's each one of our past lifetimes. There are 593 of them. And I said, well, can I meet them? And my soul said, yes. And all of a sudden, the whole cave, which was quite a big area, filled up with people like a giant party. And they were coming up and hugging me. And so I started asking questions like, have we ever been a woman? Because I didn't have the feeling of much lives, because I feel like women have a much tougher go of it, you know. And all of a sudden, a bunch of women came forward, and they were dancing and dressed in all sorts of cultural clothing from different time periods. And I said, where do some of our, shall we say, challenging habits and tendencies, like our love of women and sex, come from? And I thought it would be a bunch of men, but a whole bunch of women stepped forward, and they said, here, and they were like pulling their robes up and being sexy and saying, yes, we love all of this. And so I said, well, how does this work? My soul said, every one of these lives, you're still here in the eternal now, but the wisdom you gained is being channeled into you in this lifetime, so that whenever you come to a situation such as doing a healing or dealing with a conflict, any one of your past life beings that has wisdom, they channel it into you, and you don't realize it, but those are the thoughts that you think about, how would I solve this? But you don't realize that all of you is communicating in and through. And the man's name at the fire, his name was Bob. I believe it was Stedman, Bob Stedman. He lived in, I think, 1490. And I said to Bob, I said, what did we do? And he said, we were a battlefield medic, but we were also in charge of physical conditioning for the soldiers. Wow. And so you gained a lot of knowledge as a battlefield medic, and you used to be in charge of physical conditioning for the soldiers. And this is where you have a lot of your impulse and knowledge that you use now. And I said, well, where do we get this knowledge of plant medicines? And it turned out that I was an apprentice shaman in 3 past lifetimes. And so I got to meet those parts of myself. And so, you know, what I thought was just going to be blowing smoke and giving thanks to the mandala all of a sudden opened up. And this went on for about an hour. And now that it's happened, I have this constant inner vision. And I'm always seeing Bob sitting in the fire. And I said, can I see what you're seeing? And he said, sure, come have a look. And I sat right next to him. And I looked into the fire. And it was the strangest thing. When I looked into the fire, I saw myself standing in front of my mandala. And then all of a sudden I was in my body looking at the mandala. Then I jumped back to looking in the fire. And so this, like, I've been looking into these things for a long time. I know you know that. But this was a profound experience. And then what tripped me out, Sean, what really tripped me out is years ago, you can't see it, but over there on the wall, I connected to my soul. This is probably 12, 15 years ago. I said, I would like to paint a symbol of what we look like as a soul. And I drew this beautiful white flower, and in the center, and it's about this big, and in the center, I drew a galaxy of little stars of exactly what I saw. And after I did that meditation, I just walked over to get a cup of tea, and where the painting is sitting, and I went, oh my God, I've already painted this. And it blew my fucking mind. I'm like, son of a bitch. And then I started looking at all my other paintings of the souls. And I've left clues for myself all over that I'm going there. And I said to my soul, do we come visit? And my soul said, when you sleep at night, this is where you're at. You're here talking to the rest of yourself and visiting and helping people all over the earth, etc. So anyhow, I had to share that with you.
That's brilliant, Paul.
How does that sit with you?
It sits brilliantly with me because it started off like, it felt like you were starting off in Plato's cave, the famous Plato's cave.
Yeah, exactly.
It took on cosmic proportions in a sense. And I mean, ultimately, I think all matter is composed of light. And so
Yeah.
every incarnation is literally going to be light. I think that light is the stuff of matter. We know from quantum mechanics that all matter is frozen light. But then logos, or the word, is the morphological agent that kind of creates form out of this matter.
Yeah.
And so in some senses, stars are the kind of the dance between light and logos.